Development Agency, Public Finance Authority, Public Utility Authority, Housing Authority, Perris Joint Powers Authority, and the Perris Community Economic Development Corporation, the City of Perris. This Tuesday, November 12th, 6:30 p.m. Madam Clerk, can we have roll call, please?
Sure. Councilmember Corona.
Here.
Councilmember Rab. Councilmember Rogers. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Magana.
Here.
Mayor Vargas.
Here, thank you. Item 3 is our invocation, which will be delivered by Pastor Javier Munoz from the Gospel Temple. And then if you could remain standing for item 4, our Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Councilman Corona.
Greetings and blessings, Mayor and council members. If you guys will, stand with me and let us bow our heads and close our eyes in reverence to pray. Thank you, Heavenly Father, Lord. We just thank you for the people here, Father, this time that you've allowed for us to reunite with a purpose, Father, as we lay aside our agendas, our egos, Father, to better serve with purpose, Father. I believe you have appointed each person in this room, Father, each man and woman to serve you to the greatest that you've called them to do so, Father. So we thank you, Lord, for all the levels of government, local, state, and federal, Lord. And we just pray blessings, and we thank you, Lord, for the time you've allowed us. May we do things in an orderly conduct with your favor, Father, with your grace, and may we do things in a way where we can express that we truly love each other and love the residents of Perris here in California. So we thank you, Lord, and we do this with honor, with blessings, to bring glory to your name. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Okay, please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. Item 5 is a report on closed session. We did not have a closed session this evening. Item 6, presentations. We have none. Item 7 is approval of minutes. 7A is to consider to approve the minutes of the regular meeting held on October 29th, 2019 of the City Council, successor agency, the redevelopment agencies, and all those listed on our agenda. If there are no comments or questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve. I have a motion by Councilwoman Rogers, second by Councilman Corona. Please call the vote.
5-0, motion approved.
Thank you. Item 8 is our consent calendar. Consent calendars are items normally enacted in one motion. The mayor or the city council may remove a consent calendar item for a separate action. There will be public comment allowed for 3 minutes each. Does anybody have anything to pull?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, staff is requesting we remove item B, and we'll bring it back. We have an attachment that was not included, so we'll bring it back for the next meeting.
B as in boy?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yes, Mayor, if I could pull item 8A for separate vote.
8A for a second vote. Anybody else? Okay, if we get a motion as item B being pulled and A being pulled. I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Magana, second by Councilman Corona. Call the vote.
Five zero, motion approved.
Thank you. Ms. Magana, Mayor Pro Tem, item A.
Yes, Mayor, I will abstain from this vote since I live in this community. Will recuse myself.
Okay, very good. And then if there are no other comments or questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve. I have a motion by Councilman Rab, second by Councilman Corona. Please call the vote.
Corona, Rab, Rogers, Vargas, yes. Magana, abstain.
Thank you. Item 9 is our public hearings. 9A is consideration to adopt the first reading of ordinance number next in order to approve ordinance amendment 19-05 256 to add chapter 9.65 to the Perris Municipal Code to regulate aggressive panhandling solicitation. This will be introduced by our planning manager, Mr. Fung.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Member of the City Council. Per the direction of the Council of Planning Staff and Legal Counsel, drafted an ordinance to address aggressive panhandling solicitation as a result of homelessness and vagrancy issues throughout the city. As a matter of information, staff also presented this ordinance to the Homeless Task Committee on November 4th of 2019. The purpose of this ordinance is to limit aggressive panhandling that causes fear or intimidation to another person, and not necessarily limit an individual's right to solicit funds, which is considered a constitutionally protected activity pursuant to the First Amendment of the United States. According to police records, there have been 153 reports of calls for service related to aggressive panhandling between April and September 2019. Of these calls, about 23 were resulted in arrests for aggressive panhandling. As a result of this, the proposed ordinance will accomplish the following. One is to prohibit any person from soliciting in an aggressive manner in any public place. And two, to prohibit any person from soliciting upon any median or any manner or location that is inconsistent with the California Vehicle Code, which affects public safety. In addition, those who violate any provision of the ordinance may be cited for a misdemeanor or infraction, which will be enforced by the Sheriff's Department. The purpose of this ordinance is to assist the city's overall quality of life strategy to reduce vagrancy and crime. In conclusion, staff recommends that the council introduce a first reading of the ordinance number next in order to approve ordinance amendment 19-05256 to regulate aggressive panhandling based on the findings contained in the ordinance, and find that the project is category exempt pursuant to CEQA. And that concludes my presentation. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, before we open public comment, anybody have a question for a comment or clarification?
I do, yes.
Councilman Corona?
I do have a question with regards to the median. With the ordinances specifically for the median. Does that include shopping center medians, or is that?
So if this is if a median in the right of way in the city street like Perris Boulevard, that would be prohibited.
Okay, thank you. But so we're not really talking about the shopping center, like coming out of a shopping center, stuff like that.
If it's within a shopping center, it's within the shopping center right to prohibit. If it's on the property, it's
well, I'm
private
talking about
property.
the entrance and exit of shopping centers.
If it affects public safety, we would probably enforce it.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Well, I'll ask after we open up public comment first. So at this time, we're going to open up public hearing. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
No, sir.
Is there anybody at this time wishing to speak on this matter? Okay, hearing none, we'll close public comment. So just to reiterate and just to confirm what Councilman Corona said, the medians inside of a shopping center, that's private property, so we would have to do a so this has nothing to do with that. Is that correct?
Not necessarily, but it's a public safety issue, yes.
But it is, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, median is it defined in the ordinance as being in the public right of way? And so if you're turning into the shopping center, that
Well,
median is
within the
covered.
10 feet purview of our right of way, that we can get them. Or, I mean, they'd be violated. I didn't mean we can get them.
Yes. If I may add to that, yes, that's correct in the right-of-way, but in reference to the 602 for no trespassing, that would apply in private property, a median in a private shopping center.
And have we identified, or have we, I guess, the word aggressive, have we have a definition for that?
We do as part of the ordinance. It's just kind of defined as being overly aggressive, impeding someone's safety, and they feel that their life is being in danger, or their personal space is being attacked. and that's part of the ordinance definition.
And then just lastly, we have a buy-in on this, both from legal counsel and the sheriff's department?
Yes, we do.
Okay, very good. Anybody else on anything? Okay. Call for a motion. Motion by Councilwoman Rogers, second by Councilman Rab. Please call the vote.
5-0, motion approved.
Thank you. Okay, 9B. Consideration to adopt the first reading of ordinance number next in order to update Chapter 16 of the Municipal Code by adopting the 2019 editions of the California Building, Mechanical, Plumbing, Electrical, Fire, Residential, Green Building, Energy, Existing Administrative Codes, State Historic Code, and Reference Standards, and adopt a resolution number next in order affirming changes to the existing fee resolution for the adoption of the new fee evaluation tables. And this will be introduced by our interim building official, Fire Marshal, Mr. Dave Martinez.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, council members, members of the public, the item before you tonight is a public hearing for the adoption of the new 2019 versions of the California Building Code. The state of California adopted the 2019 versions of these codes on July 1st, 2019. Local cities and counties have 180 days to make local amendments that are more restrictive to the codes due to geologic, topographic, and climatic conditions. There is only one new proposed change in this code adoption versus the 2016 code adoption amendments. And that change has been made to be consistent with Riverside County Fire Department and the surrounding cities. The 2019 California codes will become effective at the local level on January 1st, 2020. Any local amendments will also become effective at that same date. The state of California adopted the 2019 versions of the building, fire, mechanical, plumbing, electrical codes, and other codes as defined in the local code adoption ordinance. These codes were developed by the International Code Council, or ICC, the National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA, and IAPMO, the International Association of Plumbing and Mechanical Officials. Staff has contacted the Baldy View chapter of BIA a couple of times and provided them with a copy of the ordinance. As of today, we have not received any feedback from the Baldy View chapter about the ordinance. This concludes my presentation, and I'll be available to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Council, any questions for clarification before I open up the public hearing? Councilwoman Rogers?
Yes, you said you contacted the Baldy View chapter of the BIA.
Correct.
What about the Riverside chapter?
I did not contact the Riverside chapter. The city has been dealing with the Baldy View chapter of the BIA as their main chapter. That's the reason I contacted them.
But are we in their jurisdiction? Aren't we in the Riverside jurisdiction?
It's not really a jurisdiction. It's just a chapter of the local BIA. But we were told that the BIA is going to notify any local chapter in case they might have interest. But we have not received any comments from any of the chapters.
But we haven't contacted the Riverside
Not
chapter?
directly, no. Ma'am.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, at this time, we're going to open up public hearing. Madam Clerk, are there any public members requesting to speak?
No, sir.
Is there anybody at this time in the audience wishing to speak on this particular matter? Okay, hearing none, seeing none, we'll close public comment. And if there are no further questions by council, we'll entertain a motion to approve. I have a motion by Councilman Corona, second by Mayor Pro Tem. Please call the vote.
5-0, motion approved.
Thank you. Item 10 is our business items. 10A is consideration to adopt the report prepared by RK Engineering for C Street, 4th Street to San Jacinto Avenue. Traffic review as amended and approved installation of pedestrian safety improvements. This will be introduced by our city engineer, Mr. McKibben.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council members. Stuart McKibben, City Engineer. As you recall, at the last October 29th council meeting, the C Street Safety Project was continued because council had several questions about it and asked me to come back with a special presentation on it. So that's why I'm here now. And so what have we done since the last meeting? Well, city engineering staff went out and on Halloween and did pedestrian and bicycle counts. And if on the, the next slide, I guess, or do I do it? No. Just press that. Thank you. Thank you, Kenneth. So we sent staff out to do pedestrian and bicycle counts. They did them at both 1st and at 3rd Street. And before I get into that, I just want to, looking at the photograph, you can see the red line is where C Street is. The yellow dots are where the intersections of 1st Street at the north, with north being up, and 3rd Street at the lower second dot. The Metrolink station is along, you can see its parking lot all along C Street. And you also of note is the St. James Catholic Church a little bit to the west on 3rd Street. So, so we went out, took the pedestrian counts. Traffic engineer adds them directly to the vehicle counts that were going east-west at 1st and 3rd. And a couple of things come out of that. One is that comparing the number of vehicles going east-west to north-south, there's simply not enough traffic east-west to warrant an all-way stop sign. That's what the traffic engineer's recommendation was. One thing I do want to point out to you here, though, is that there's basically twice as much pedestrian and bicycle traffic going east-west at 3rd Street than at 1st. So if you were going to choose to do one, I'm not saying yet that you should, it would be probably better to do one at 3rd Street because more pedestrians would use it there. And then hopefully all the pedestrians that would cross at 1st Street would come down there as well, where they might have some protection. So there's that. The next thing that we had our traffic consultant, RK Engineering, look at was how long, if we put an all-way stop at 1st or at 3rd Street, how long would be the backups? And they ran that analysis, and generally the southbound backups are greater than the northbound backups at each intersection because there's more traffic going south. And they're longer going south. There's bigger backups actually at 1st Street than there would be at 3rd Street according to this analysis. 303 feet. It's about 390 feet between 1st Street and San Jacinto Avenue to the north. So the cars would back up with a all-way stop almost all the way to San Jacinto Avenue. On C Street and 3rd, the northbound traffic's the one that would back up toward 4th Street. It's only about 3 vehicles, 78 feet. So it would not back up to 4th Street. That was one of the questions that happened or were asked at the last council meeting. So this also would kind of suggest that if there was going to be a traffic control, it should be at 3rd Street because there'd be less impact overall to the north-south traffic on C Street. Then what kind of, if we did do a traffic control, what kind of facility should we have? And I have a video here that I don't know how to play, obviously, because I didn't know how to move it. Somebody's helping me, the hand of God. So this is an alternative to a stop sign. It's a flashing signal sign that would be off on the side, and the crosswalk itself would have flashing lights. This would alert vehicles that are coming north-south on C Street, that there's a pedestrian trying to cross, and this would make for a safer crossing. That's the idea here.
That's controlled by a button from the pedestrian?
Yes, it's controlled by a button on the sign. The cost is not inconsequential. It's about $40,000 for the installation and the design. A stop sign, probably we could get that installed for the equipment plus the design of the striping and all that for probably less than $5,000. So there's pros and cons for doing either one. The other thing that's a benefit on this flashing sign is if you had an always stop, all 800 cars coming southbound or going northbound, every single one of them would stop at the intersection. In this case, it's only when those 13 pedestrians are crossing during peak hours, that's when they would have to stop. So then the main thing is it would be safer for the pedestrians. They'd have some protection there so they can get across the street. So there's that, and then let's go to the next slide. So with that said, staff's recommendation is that a traffic control device should be placed at 3rd and C Street. And then we could go either ways. There's pros and cons for either ways, for either a stop sign, always stop sign at 3rd, or a flashing sign, flashing crosswalk. It's economics and other issues. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm ready for any questions.
I have nobody in the queue so far. I have some questions. Okay, Councilman Rab?
Yes, thank you, Mr. McKibben, for that presentation, and thank you to you and staff for doing the follow-up. Just to reiterate, when RK Engineering did the initial traffic study, they found that neither intersection at C and 3rd Street and C and 1st Street met any of the warrants that they lay out for determining whether or not to put a traffic signal.
That's correct.
Okay, and then when they followed up and they did the pedestrian analysis, their finding was that it did not warrant a traffic signal with the pedestrian analysis?
That is correct, per Caltrans standards, right.
Okay. And those standards include, just for the people watching out on TV, the number of accidents at those locations, whether or not a temporary signal is needed prior to the installation of a stop sign, and I believe view counts and other issues?
Yes.
Okay. And then there are also several recommendations that RK Engineering did that we could implement that did not include installing a four-way traffic signal, and that include trimming the trees and some other issues?
That's it. I definitely remember the tree trimming for sight distance.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilman Corona?
Yes. I do want to thank you for going out there and doing another study. I do have a couple questions. At what time which hours was the study done from?
The traffic counts and the pedestrian counts were done from 9 to 11 in the morning and from 2 to 7 p.m. at night.
Okay.
They were done at different times. The traffic counts were done with the earlier report, and then we went back out for the pedestrian counts on Halloween.
Okay. Now for the pedestrian count, are these people just walking on 3rd Street? Are they crossing?
They had to cross the street to be counted, either going west or going east.
Okay. So they could either be going towards the bus,
Toward the Metrolink or away from it, yes.
or away from it. Okay. Now, how about the percentage were children? Do you know?
That we did not count.
You didn't count whether they're children. Okay. Because okay. Okay. So for the pedestrians, it was 13 was the number at.
That was the peak. The peak hour was 13.
Okay.
The total count for that day was 55
Okay.
at 3rd Street and 45 at 3rd Street and 26 at 1st Street.
Okay. Now, did we ever get a count to see how many people were coming from C Street crossing on 4th Street?
No,
makes
we did
sense?
not count 4th Street.
We didn't count 4th Street at all. Okay. All right. That's all the questions right now. Thank you.
Councilwoman Rogers?
I'm very concerned about our pedestrian safety, and particularly when there's a school right there on Third Street. I know in downtown Riverside, the flashing lights have that crosswalk from the Riverside County Building over to the Sheriff's Department right across the street, and also on Third Street where you cross where RTA is. And I know they work very well. There's not a stop sign there, but the flashing lights go as the pedestrians cross. So is that one of the recommendations that you have for this particular intersection?
Yes, that's we have kind of two recommendations. It could either be an all-way stop sign or, and there's pros and cons with each, or it could be a flashing sign on the side of the road with a lighted crosswalk.
Now, the ones in downtown Riverside, I don't remember pushing the button to cross the street. Are those sensor-driven?
These are, the ones that we were pricing were activated by a button.
Okay, so the pedestrian would have to push the button like you do for the green light or whatever. Are the ones in Riverside sensor-driven, or they push button as well?
I'm not
You don't
aware
know?
of what they do in Riverside. I just stop
Okay.
at them.
I know they work very well. There's a lot of traffic in downtown Riverside, particularly from the county building, going over to the Sheriff's Department, and also in front of the RTA bus stop. They go quite often to where that is, so that might work very well for this particular intersection on C and Third. I think that might work better than the four-way stop sign, personally, myself. Thank you.
I kind of agree, but the video displayed that you showed, and I know you didn't do it, but it looked like it was an overcast day. It wasn't a bright, sunny day. So I don't know how effective the lights are going to be in a bright, sunny day. Paris, unfortunately, has summer all year long, and we get maybe 2 weeks of winter. So I'm very concerned about pedestrian safety, especially the school-age children crossing there on Third Street, as well as our whatever age citizen that's crossing to utilize the buses. I'm a little confused on the numbers, only that I just really thought they're going to be a little higher than what was shown. But this is the same company that did the study for the pedestrian?
They did the original warrant study, yes.
The original one, they did hour per hour. They did a great job when it came for counting vehicles. And then you come to the pedestrian side, and it just says peak hours. That doesn't tell me anything. What is peak hours? I'm not referring to peak hours going to work. I'm talking about kids going to school and people going to take a bus to work, not someone driving down because they leave at 7 o'clock in the morning to get to work, and they probably won't cross any kids at that time.
Well, that's my fault on this. In the PowerPoint presentation, I just showed the peak hours. However, in the arcade staff report, they did show all of the hours and each traffic count for each hour period.
I haven't seen, and I'm not saying it's not. Well, see, I didn't get that page.
Did you get this page with the different times and all this?
No, unless it's further down in here.
It's
Okay, never
down
mind.
here. It's here.
It's further down.
Yeah, it's here.
Okay, so it's still a low amount of numbers, but then again, one life is too many, for a bad accident. It's unfortunate in the city of Perris and in California in itself, signal lights, flashing lights. I've said this many times and I'll say it again, they're merely suggestions in California. People do not stop, in particular in Perris, for sure. Will a stop sign make a difference? I don't know, but I'd rather personally would see a four-way stop. Down on Third Street, I think, will be ideal because it is closer to the elementary school. Your report says that there is no backing up into Fourth Street, which seems to be what the council up here was concerned about, was backup, so there wouldn't be no backup going into Fourth Street nor First Street. So I don't see why a four-way stop would be productive at Third and C Street. So that's my comments. I do believe we have some speakers that want to speak, so let's go ahead and open up public comment. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
Yes, sir. Tom Strickland.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Tom Strickland. I am the principal of St. James Catholic School, right on 3rd Street, right there. The amount of traffic that I see every day is phenomenal. You'll notice when you get there, one of the references I saw here was there are no crosswalks all the way across there. there may be one at that first stop sign there. I have seen cars passing each other, hurry up to get to a stop sign right there and turn left. It is way out of control. We have the flashing lights. In my opinion as principal, they don't work. We need the stop signs to make people actually stop when they need to be. We need more patrols there because they're just bypassing Perris Avenue and using our street as the main cutoff point, and it's a major problem. We've got kids from the age of TK, 3 years old, up to 8th grade. After we're done, we have CCD, which is religious ed. You're talking hundreds of kids as well. Our school is very well used in the community. And so I can tell you from my personal experience, I get there every day at 6:30 in the morning, 6:45, they're blowing right on through there. From 6:30 to, I would say, 9 o'clock, they're flying right on through. Afternoon, on the peak report I saw right here, 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock, when school's getting out, they're flying by there as well. So something has to be put down to stop them. At least a stop sign, in my opinion, will make them at least stop than a flashing light is concerned. That's what was put in. I'm not the expert on that area, but I can tell you I'd rather just have the stop sign from there. So it's definitely needed. I think the speed is a real issue, but this will at least stop some people. Hopefully it may backlog a little bit, but at least it's going to slow them down because right now they are not slowing down at all. And as Mayor said, I can't wait to have one of my kids hit, one of my grandparents hit, or one of my teachers hit. Because we'll be responsible and the city will be responsible as well. Neither one of us need the responsibility. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Strickland.
For clarification? Yes. Yeah, yes. So are you talking about traffic on 3rd Street though? Or are you talking about C Street?
Basically both. The 3rd Street one is a street that the school is on. But when you get up there to the corner there, I know when I have to leave at the end of the day and I try to make a right-hand turn, and that line is long going to Perris Boulevard, you either have to be very patient if they'll let you in, or you have to kind of circle around. And the only problem with that is you've got traffic coming this way. Mm-hmm. So you can get up to that light to turn left. Okay. And if you're trying to turn left, forget it. Yeah, you got to be very patient to be able to do that to get through.
So going from C Street to 4th Street?
Yes.
Okay, I see. Okay, now I'm wondering, does St. James School utilize any type of crossing guards?
Yes, we do. We have them. Well, we have Mass on Wednesdays, but every morning, either I'm out there or we have our teachers out there as well. We have signs that say stop, go, but sometimes they're just oblivious to what's there, and they're in a hurry to get somewhere, and they're going to get there no matter what.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
That is all.
Anyone else in the audience wishing to speak on this matter? Hearing none and seeing none, we'll close public comment. Mr. McKibben, Councilwoman Rogers just pointed something out to me at the bottom of, there's no pages here, but your exhibits, page, I think that's the bottom of the first page. It has a note. Well, it has a note on it. I can just tell you, it has a note that the inspector counted approximately 15 semi-trailer trucks at C Street crossing these intersections. C Street has become a truck route connection from the freeway D Street to 4th Street. So, I mean, as far as I know, that is not is that just, he's just throwing that in there that it appears to become a truck route?
I think he threw that in there, but C Street is not a designated truck route.
Correct. It has become one now, though, apparently. So the bottom line, what's happening with C Street, from my personal experience, because I've never experienced this 16 years that I've lived here, or 17 now, until I became mayor and had to travel to downtown, is that everybody cuts across San Jacinto to C Street to bypass to going to Perris and 4th Street. So I'm just personally not willing to take a chance just to save someone a few extra minute or two of a signal, couple of signal lights I've already made my suggestion, or my comment was that, you know, you can't, there's no price for life. I mean, and to put a four-way stop would be a lot more practical, in my opinion, at Third Street and C Street, as even suggested by our staff, or engineering staff, so. Any other, Councilman Rab?
Yes. While I value all the speakers' comments and I value the safety concern, we do contract out with RK Engineering to do the traffic study to determine whether or not a stop sign is warranted, either at C and Third Street or C and First Street. And they looked at approximately 8 factors. The most apparent factors were A through D. Was a traffic signal was warranted, meaning if we put like a light up, would we need to put a stop sign or signal in that area? They found that it was not satisfied at either C and First Street or C and Third Street. They looked at the number of collisions, and based on the number of collisions at each intersection, it did not satisfy it at either location. They looked at the minimum values, meaning the people going down that street. It did not satisfy it at either C and First Street and C and Third Street. They looked at the combination minimum values, item D, and it did not satisfy either. And they looked at either optional warrants, and it did not satisfy at either location. While I understand the safety concerns regarding the students at St. James Elementary, that's why we did the follow-up pedestrian safety study. And RK Engineering once again found that the pedestrians going there each hour did not warrant a stop sign. I've reached out to numerous residents in the city regarding if they wanted a stop sign at either location. Many residents have said that C Street is a bypass street. They go down C Street to bypass D Street. Since my nearly 5 years on the council, we've installed a series of stop signs along D Street. Primarily, before it was just a stop sign at D and 2nd Street, and you would hit the light at D and 4th Street, and then there wouldn't be another stop sign till D and 11th. That was way back. Since that time, we've installed stop signs at D and 3rd Street, D and I believe 5th, or D and 6th Street, D and 7th, D and 10th. So a lot of people use C Street as a bypass to get off of D Street. If you're coming from Lake Elsinore, Good Hope, other portions of downtown Perris, Enchanted Hills, they take C Street to bypass D Street to get to the freeway 215 North, or if they're coming down the south into the 215, they take C Street to go along. While I understand the safety concerns, I'm open to administrating or putting in the pedestrian safety light. I know it's a little bit more money. Well, it's $40,000 versus $5,000 to put the stop sign, but based on the factors of RK Engineering, the stop sign not meeting any of the warrants at any of the locations. Numerous residents, I put it out on social media and asked them concerning that. They indicated that putting it on C Street would significantly slow down traffic. Based on my own observations as someone that lives in downtown and takes that 2 to 3 times a week, I don't believe a stop sign is warranted at either location. I think that we should go forward with the pedestrian safety route and then work with St. James to get a traffic guard at that location. So I am against putting stop signs at either location.
Councilman Corona?
Yes. I do also want to thank the speakers that came. I want to thank Stuart for the presentation. I know my main concern was whether it was going to impede traffic on 4th Street. According to the report, it's not going to. So I am satisfied with that. As far as the safety for the students, for pedestrian students, it doesn't seem logical sense that anybody would be crossing C Street to cross the street there. You know, if a student lives in downtown Perris, it makes more sense that they would just walk to 4th Street, cross there, or walk to San Jacinto and cross there. I do feel and it kind of has to relate with this, but I feel like people are just trying to get to where they're trying to get to, and I do think our city should maybe look into in the future seeing about punching San Jacinto all the way through to A Street, which I think would alleviate a lot of traffic on C Street. But I do agree with Councilman Rab about being a light, because if you have a stop sign, every car is going to need to stop and stop and stop. But a crossing light there, it's going to mean that the cars are free to go unless those very few times that there's a pedestrian. I know that on Perris Boulevard, some students use the crossing light there. I mean, I can't imagine that if every car had to stop, every single car had to stop on Perris Boulevard. If there's somebody there or nobody there. At the same time, I do appreciate the concerns about the pedestrians, but I think with better management with the crossing guards and different locations, I think that'll hopefully alleviate the situations. I know almost every school kind of has to deal with their traffic issues throughout Paris. It's not perfect. I'm not just saying Paris. I mean, but if you look at social media, it's complaints everywhere in Temecula and Murrieta. Just people not following the rules of the road. But I'm not sure if a stop sign would actually help create more safety avenues instead of potentially causing more problems and more delays. And having a light there, although it does cost more money, I think it'll meet the needs for the safety needs and also the needs for our people who are in vehicles and also our pedestrians as well too. So I'm in favor of that one. Thank you.
Councilwoman Rogers?
I had spoken earlier that I thought the crossing flashing lights would be beneficial, but after hearing the principal speak, I understand his concern. I know the council asked to go back and do a study, and while I respect the study, all of the data, when you have a consultant that goes out for 1 day or 2 days, they map what's there at that particular time, but nobody knows what's happening at that particular corner better than someone who's there day in and day out, such as the principal, the teachers, or the students. So in light of hearing his concerns about the flashing lights and the request for the stop sign, I think I would consider that at this point. I know getting through Paris is challenging at different times of day, but my number one concern is the safety of the students, the safety of the pedestrians, in light of the fact that we've had a couple of fatal traffic accidents just within the last week. That gives me cause to really ponder the inclusion of a stop sign on the corner of C and 3rd. So I'm leaning in that area at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So we mentioned a stop sign on, principal mentioned that it would be beneficial, but another question is, would it be more beneficial to have another stop sign on 3rd Street just because we have you here in the room and based on your suggestions? Would you prefer a stop sign somewhere along 3rd Street rather than 3rd and C Street?
I think where the immediate traffic area is the most, and that is at the Metrolink with them walking all the way across. I know we do have the one stop sign, but that's the stop sign up above where the church is that they are racing down.
Okay.
And we have a flashing lights going, it doesn't seem to matter. We have the thing in the middle, California law says you have to slow down. They're not slowing down.
What if we were to put a stop sign at the flashing lights that you currently have? Would that better meet your needs for your students in your school?
That would give you two stop signs in a short amount of distance. I guess anything might work out. I know we can't. When I talked to Mayor Vargas earlier on this a while ago, my question was, well, why can't we just raise up what's already there? Mm-hmm. And my thought was, if they're speeding through and they get their shocks and other things taken care of and they have to pay that bill, they'll slow down. Mm-hmm. But he said it wasn't feasible because of 2 reasons. One was emergency vehicles may have a problem if it's too high. Mm-hmm. And the other one is the driver themselves. If they get airborne, and heaven forbid, they hit something. Mm-hmm. So when I heard that answer, that kind of negated the obvious question I had, is just raise up the speed bump a little bit, but we can't do that. So I think those two would be great, but what I'm seeing is we have the stop sign here, the stop sign across where the metro station is.
Right.
And then the major area is the cross lanes going this way. And they're not slowing down
North
for anything.
and south on
Right.
C Street. Okay.
That's the biggest issue because there's nothing there, and they just go all day long.
Okay. And so my concern is for any of those number streets, first, second, and third, traffic gets backed up on all those streets, and I commute quite often down those streets. And especially to make a left turn, I know you mentioned making a right onto 4th Street to get on to 4th Street. However, making a left turn on C Street is incredibly hard during peak traffic hours time as well. So we mentioned the proximity of the stop signs, but what if we were to propose a stop sign on 3rd Street, and that way we can alleviate an additional stop sign on C Street? Would that still meet your needs?
If that may help out, but basically, we need more than what's there. And we just
Okay.
have the one stop sign. That's
Gotcha.
down at the corner, and it's not doing anything with the people speeding by. We're
Okay.
getting them coming down, and obviously both going in both directions.
Could we propose that for city staff to have a traffic study on 3rd Street, and then also law enforcement to help with the speeding that's happening? With that, we can play it by ear and see if that's beneficial, and if not, then we can bring it back to the table. That would be what I would suggest, just because I also feel that a 4-way stop on C Street would be really close to 4th Street as well. And then RTA wrote us a letter that they would find beneficial a 4-way stop on 1st Street. So now if you can imagine, if we were to add one on 3rd Street and then an additional one on 1st Street, then I understand. I know a lot of people take the alternative loop around. But during traffic times, it gets difficult. And I've seen all the streets get filled up and backed up because it's difficult to make a left turn and vice versa. So something I would recommend to staff to do a traffic study on 3rd Street in front of St. James Catholic School. Thank you.
Okay, so in going back to the report, Mr. McKibben, Councilman Rab brought up some good points, but however, I beg to differ because, number one, not all traffic accidents are reported. So whether you go to CHP, whether you go to Highway or a Sheriff's Department, not all traffic accidents are reported. They only claimed 5 were reported. You needed 5 or more. I'm willing to bet there was quite a few accidents that just don't even get reported. So I don't, to me, that one's just wiped out. Pedestrians, so this study was only one day, correct?
Correct.
So
Both
that was on
times.
Halloween.
For the pedestrian count, yes.
On Halloween.
Yes.
So on Halloween, there are more kids being transported to school than walking because of our costumes and the type of costumes, the big costumes, their backpacks. Parents take kids to school. I'm willing to bet there was more cars on that day, which we didn't count, than our pedestrians. And because we only did that one day of study, that's not an adequate survey. It would have been more adequate to do 2 to 3 days out of a week, and there you get some true numbers. You can't get true numbers on one day, and of all days, Halloween, more kids are transported. I know, because I'm a grandpa, and I've been doing it since my 4 daughters, and now with kids. So I don't think there was an accurate number there. So I think a lot of these numbers would have changed. So these numbers here, to meet the criteria, to me, that is voided out. That they don't work for me. Again, it's still, and we heard the principal talk, just as Councilwoman Rogers mentioned his concerns. Chief, would you be willing to step up and make a comment on your personal opinion, your law enforcement opinion on this? I won't hold you to it, but I'd just like to hear from law enforcement, your perspective.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, city staff, and members of the public. So regarding this particular area, I can tell you right now that the last speaker and all of you are much more familiar with this particular location than I am. What I can tell you from a traffic enforcement perspective is that the entire city of Perris and all of its thousands of residents are competing for traffic services. So we have 4 traffic motor deputies for the entire city of Perris. And that's actually a good number. Would we like 12 or 16 or 18? Of course. What we're hearing tonight regarding this particular location, this particular school, its particular location is no different than any other city that I've ever worked in. It just comes down to when these schools were built, how they were laid out, the existing buildings, the existing driveways, etc. What I would like to see someday, I would like to see a school built in a very long line where people can drop their children off and then pick them up safely. Again, I would like to see personally at every intersection where children pass are stop signs and flashing lights. But I know that that's a decision for all of you to make. But we will continue on our rotation from a public safety standpoint on our rotation. It continues through all the different schools, all of our problem areas, even our business districts. So we will continue to do that as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that sales pitch, Chief.
You're welcome.
He tossed it right back to us.
Does anybody have questions for the chief while he's up here? Councilman Corona?
So, I'm still trying to figure out exactly what
What he just said?
yeah, like the recommendation you have. Should we put a stop sign there, nothing, or flashing lights?
Well, like I
do you have an
said,
opinion on that?
I haven't had the opportunity to read the study myself or review any of that data. I would think that you may want a larger sampling of data, so you can better make a determination. So you can have a bigger sample to look at, maybe some different days, and that sort of thing. Ultimately, it comes down to, if you put the stop signs, it's going to take a long time for people to get from point A to point B. If you put the flashing lights, obviously that's different, but you're relying on the flashing lights. I am familiar with the ones in Riverside, and they do seem to work very well, but again, I have no data regarding how useful they actually are.
And now that I think about it, the data they got regarding accidents was strictly from CHP, right? Mr. McKibben?
Don't recall.
I think that's what they said in the report from CHP. And then didn't come from your department, which
I don't know that it did.
CHP does not
Police us.
right, only in our sub rural areas they go out there, but for the majority in city limits, it's your department doing it.
That's correct. Inside the city of Perris, we're responsible for traffic investigations and traffic enforcement. In the county areas, it's CHP.
Yeah, so so I think we got some, I'm not trying to criticize this report, but I'm just, there are flaws in it, and that's why I can't put a price on a life, and a stop sign to me is, I'm not saying it's gonna solve the issues. Because I know in my neighborhood, stop signs is a green light, not a stop sign. But it's gotta make a little damp on it, you would hope. It could also give you more authority for your traffic officers to enforce someone blowing a stop sign, as opposed to, going a little bit over the speed, 5 miles. If it's a 25 mile an hour zone, you're going 30, you're not gonna necessarily get pulled over. But traveling 30 miles an hour, or even 25 blowing through an intersection where kids are crossing, that's gonna do a lot of collateral damage.
Yeah, there's a lot of violations that can be included there.
Exactly.
Even with a flashing lighted crosswalk, there would be a crosswalk violation and speed. So,
Right.
Again, they're both viable options based on the presentation that I just heard. But it's just making that decision between keep traffic moving and at the same time student safety.
All right. Well, thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
We
Thank you.
already ruled out going north. There was Third and C and Third Street, there was no backup, correct?
There was less backup than at First and,
And
because
San
there's more
Jacinto.
cars
Right.
at First and
But
C.
but the cars did not back up to Fourth Street,
That is correct.
which is a good thing in itself, right there. Which I'd be concerned about. Yes, Councilman Corona.
So the question I have on that then, so if more cars are coming by First Street than Third Street, is it safe to say that a lot of cars are turning or making that turn onto First Street to get to San Jacinto?
Well, they're turning on First Street and Second Street, yes.
Oh, and Second Street as well. Okay. Do we have numbers on Second Street? Is that
As far as who's turning there, no, I do not.
okay? Okay. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
Yeah, I do. I think our chief kind of said it when at a time when our streets were created 100 years ago. I don't think they anticipated a Metrolink there. I don't think they anticipated St. James anticipated that they're going to have so much traffic on C Street. When they built that school, decades and decades ago. So I think it's just a challenge as our city's trying to modernize, having a Metrolink there. It's a challenge of also providing safety for our residents as well too. But I do agree with what the mayor said with the data. I think it was, being that it was Halloween, I'm not sure if we got an accurate count on that. At the same time too, I mean, I'm not the engineer, and none of us here are engineers as well either. So I got to base it on what the engineer said. But I would definitely be open, and I know it would be like the second study or third study, but I'm open to having them do a more accurate full length study, not doing it during Thanksgiving break or anything like that, just doing it normal hours. At the same time, I know Mr. It seems like the concerns are of St. James is immediately right there by St. James, and I'm not fully convinced yet that a stop sign on 3rd and C Street would actually create a safer issue for what's going on there. I could imagine that people are just going to stop there. They're going to turn on 3rd Street, and they're just going to speed up just like normal. And so I could imagine a stop sign instead of a flashing light on actual 3rd Street would actually be more helpful. At the same time, too, I'm not sure how many people, if the church is still used on Sundays at all. But I could imagine that if they have other events, it might just be safer, and people knowing that there's another stop sign there, they might not want to take that one. They might want to use 1st Street or just wait to take 4th Street instead, if they're just more traffic issues. So I'm definitely open to having another study. I know it'd be kind of it just seems like we're just doing study after study, but according to this one, I just don't. I kind of agree with the mayor on this one. I just don't really fully. I don't want to say trust it, because I know they did a good job, but I think it's just not as comprehensive as I would like to see it. But that's my opinion on
So,
that.
are these the firm that's part of our city engineer's office?
No, they are not. They are a consultant that we retain.
Okay, so if, city manager going forward with another
Mr.
survey?
Mayor, members of council, I think the other challenge was that you had requested this item come back for this meeting, so the turnaround time was limited in the days we could go out there. So with the holidays, we could do it for more than one occurrence and make sure it doesn't happen on Halloween.
Right, so
it's not a new study, but we can include additional days, I think.
Okay, so then that would be the approach, is that we need to do it more than just one day. And then we also have to reach out to the sheriff's department data, because if I'm not mistaken, I read in here that it was per the highway patrol, and that's the case. That's not where the data should be coming from. It needs to come from our sheriff's department. In addition to that, that's fine. We'll take those 3 plus whatever they have.
Okay.
But, and again, just because there's an accident, a fender bender does not require a police report. So there could be still many accidents that are unreported, so that. Anybody else want to add anything to it? Councilman Rabb?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to thank staff for following up with this and thank everyone for reaching out and giving their comments. I'm prepared to vote this down today. I think we have sufficient information to determine whether or not a traffic signal or a traffic stop sign is located there or not, rather than kicking the can down the road into the new decade. I'm prepared to vote on this today.
You might be prepared, but I don't think everybody else who, I know two want more information. Did you want more information?
I agreed with Mayor Pro Tem and Mr. Corona.
So that's 3 there. So it's.
And particularly after the chief came back and tossed it back to us, we have to follow up.
Yep. Sorry, Councilman, but it's okay. Okay, anybody else? Okay, so we can bring this back again, City Manager, with more info. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Mr. Strickland, thank you for coming down. Thank you, Chief, for that sales pitch. Okay, I didn't even open up, did I open up public comment for this? Yeah. Okay. All right, so now we move on to. No, we're moving it, yeah. Okay, item 11 is public comment. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
Yes, sir. Bill Lamb?
Mr. Lamb. It's been a while.
Good evening, Mayor Vargas, members of City Council. I hope I'm not wearing out my welcome.
No, not at all.
We have just completed 5 days out with Thomas. Over that time, we had 14,500 visitors.
Wow.
We had, of those, 5,000 rode behind Percy. It seems like a large number, but our high point on Thomas was 30,000 riders, 30,000
On weekend?
people. On 2 weekends.
Wow.
This time it was 14. So Thomas has been decreasing in intensity, and Thomas has always been cyclical. We hope it comes back. As a nonprofit, we depend upon events like this to continue viably as a participant in the community. So Thomas is over with. We are now working towards Polar Express. Polar Express is going to be a different type of event. We will be running with the trains, but we have contracted with a firm called Rail Events, who is contracted with Warner Brothers. And they actually have the licensing for the event, and they will be conducting the event on the train. So tickets will be available through them. However, there have 2 dress rehearsal trains on the Friday after Thanksgiving. And we're reaching out to the 4 schools in our area, and we have talked to the principals with those schools, and at this point have handed out the capability of 600 tickets for low-income families to attend on those 2 nights, or that one night on the 2 trains. And we will see how that goes. We feel that we have a responsibility to reach out to the community, not just bring people into the community. But because of Pumpkin Train, because of Thomas, and because of Polar Express and the workload involved, we have not developed our program for next year. So at this point, I don't have anything to tell you about next year. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lamb. Anyone else?
That is all.
Anybody at this time wish to speak on any particular matter? Very good. We'll close public comment.
She raised her hand.
Come on down. That's Sister Lavella Singer.
Good evening, Mayor, and to the council, and to all that are here this evening. My name is Lavella Singer, and I'm with the Dora Nelson African American Art and History Museum, and I am here just to invite you to save the date of February the 2nd, 2020, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon to join us at the Dora Nelson African American Art and History Museum, where we'll be recognizing 100 years of Dora Nelson's arrival to Perris. And we will have a special unveiling on that day. And there will be more information forthcoming, but I'd appreciate you marking that on your calendar and planning to join us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Hearing and seeing none, we'll close public comment and go to item 12, council communication. Councilman Reb?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to thank staff for putting on an excellent Veterans Day parade. I know we all participated in it. It was well attended, and I think we can even increase the attendance next year if we can reach out to the schools and maybe give hard flyers out to the individual schools in the area to ensure that everyone knows that the parade is happening, usually the Saturday before Veterans Day. So we can work on getting increasing turnout, increasing interest for the 2020 Veterans Day parade. I really appreciate it. I just want to thank all our veterans for their service. I know Veterans Day was yesterday, but just want to continue that, thanking everyone that served in our military for serving their country. And I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. We won't have another meeting till the 1st of December, so enjoy Thanksgiving. Thank God for all the great things he's done for us and all the things he will continue to do for us. With that, I have no additional comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Corona?
Okay. I too want to thank our staff for organizing the Veterans Day parade. I thought it was a great event. It was just nice just seeing a lot of the veterans actually stand on the sidewalk and just having a chance to thank them for their service. At the same time, I want to thank my colleague Rab for his service and also our city attorney Mr. Dunn for their service as well too. Last week I attended along with my colleague Mayor Pro Tem Magana the homeless subcommittee where our staff actually presented their Perris Cares the Perris Cares program which is basically a one-stop shop for all the information with regards to our city and for things that our residents can do to help provide services for our homeless population here in the city of Perris. But that is it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rogers?
I think the highlight for me for this year's Veterans Parade was that our grand marshals were the Gold Star families, and that just really touched my heart to see those families being honored. As always, Perris does an excellent job, staff does an excellent job, the American Legion participates, and it's just wonderful that we take the time to honor our true heroes, the veterans. Last week, I did have the opportunity to attend a retirement celebration for the executive director of the Riverside Building Industry Association, Bill Blankenship, who's been there for over 19 years. So it was very sad to see him leave the BIA, but he's going into consulting. So a lot of builders were there, a lot of builders that are interested in coming to Perris. One that's a low-income housing builder that I did speak to, and we'll be following up with him. So that's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Magana?
Thank you, Mayor. I also had the distinct honor of participating in our Veterans Day Parade. A great thank you to our city staff for putting on this great event, and thank you to all who have served in our various military branches, and it was great to see our participants enjoying themselves during this parade. So that was a really great day here in the city of Perris. Echoing the sentiments of Councilmember Corona, out of our City of Perris Homeless Task Force Committee meeting, we learned all about our Perris Cares website. So I encourage all Perris residents to visit the website and see how you can connect and plug yourselves into our efforts. Perris Cares for All is the motto that we're using for that. And we had Michelle Ogawa give us a great, thorough presentation on that. And also, we're looking for nonprofits who will also be able to serve in our efforts. So if you are aware of any nonprofits who you feel should be also advertised in our Perris Cares website, then please inform our staff, Michelle Ogawa, Rebecca Rivera, and Carla Lopez. And then I'd also like to take a moment to send my prayers and thoughts to Lieutenant Portillo, whose mother passed away. Just wanted to let you know we're there with you in support. And wishing you all a happy Thanksgiving. Take a moment to be grateful and count your blessings. And that concludes my council communications. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, I'll cut my laundry list down since we're pretty early. First of all, thank you again to all our veterans. Everybody's been saying it. Besides Rab and our city attorney, we also need to include our PIO, Mr. Steven. He's a Navyman, right? Navy, and Air Force. Very good. So I've been going for the last few years. The CMI, they have a great annual pancake breakfast honoring their veterans, so that's always a good event. Everybody talked about the parade. I met with Mr. Doc Tim Watson. He's a local pediatrician here at the Mission Pediatrics. He wants to give back to our community. We had an introductory meeting with myself and staff, and they're going to be working together with him, see where he can best fit in some programs here. So it's nice to have our business partners always giving back to our community. Ethan-Ack Expressway Project Tour, just to put it out there, I mean, it's just like the Mid-County Parkway. These are long time away projects, basically due to money, but there are plans to extend Ethan-Ack corridor from Highway 74, Nichols Road. It's going to go east and west. It'll connect the cities of Hemet, San Jacinto, Menifee, Perris, and Lake Elsinore. and the unincorporated communities of Winchester, Homeland, Romoland, Good Hope, Meadowbrook, and Warm Springs. Its function is an additional east-west arterial route connecting the 15th to Interstate 215 and beyond. Obviously, funding is a critical component in this project, and as funding is identified, certain phases would start commencing, but it's talk in progress, and it's going to be a lot of money, no doubt. In reference to transportation, RCTC, that's the Riverside County Transportation Commission that I sit on, together with Caltrans, have been hosting open houses starting yesterday. They'll go on for tomorrow and the day after. And this is for Express Lane project that would extend the I-15 express lanes currently under construction by an additional 14.5 miles from Cohalco Road in Corona through Temescal Valley to State Route 74, also known as Central Avenue. So that'll be a little nice long corridor. If members of the community are interested, November 13th will be at the Eagle Glen Golf Club in Corona, and November 14th will be at Ortega High School in Elsinore. And if you just want to go online, you may go online to visit that as well. I didn't give the email address. My apologies. I'll have to get that back. In addition to all this, unfortunately, we had another loss in our city, and that was to Mr. Vince Agnafili. He's on November 8th, he passed away. He's a Rotary Club of Perris member. Very active in the club in the Perris business community and the SoCal Fair. And then finally, Amazon Prime Air ribbon cutting, an opportunity to go to that event, as well as they threw in a Veterans Day event too as well to honor our vets. And one big highlight for that day is Amazon donated a $100,000 check to Operations Gratitude. This is a nonprofit organization that specializes in providing care packages to our troops. And that was another excellent program. This is for the Prime Air that utilizes our airport. When I say our, it's the March Joint Powers Authority, which Perris is part of. So it's the March Inland Airport that works off the March base. So that was another good event. Okay, I'll wrap that up. And item 13, City Manager's Report.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you. We have a few items tonight. I want to remind the public that this Thursday we're going to have a special event. We are partnering with Ring Doorbell, and Perris residents are eligible to receive a special discount on Ring products. It's a gift card up to $100 on some of their products, and their products will be here in the council chambers available to purchase. So that's this Thursday, 6 to 8, right here in the city council chambers. They do have to provide residents proof of residency. We also have coming up another hike. It'll happen Saturday, November 16th. It's at Lake Perris Recreational Park once again. This time we'll be on the Bernasconi side. I believe it's 3-mile hike, and it's a much easier route than the previous one, so we encourage residents to come for that. And then we are changing the seasons, and so our IT department has a public outreach campaign that they'd like to introduce to coincide with what's happening at OERM. And I believe our PIO will give you a brief overview.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Good to be here tonight. Our summer and social media campaign, #NoPerris and Selfies with Karina, was a great success. We've grown our Instagram following up to almost 4,000 followers, which is about double what we had this time last year. As summer and fall sessions come to a close, it's time to look ahead to the holiday season. We can all officially start drinking eggnog, hanging our Christmas lights, and if you haven't yet, it's November, so it's definitely safe to start singing along to Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You. Now, I don't know about you, but my favorite part of the holiday season is the change in weather. Unfortunately, here in Southern California, it doesn't get very cold. The heat around Christmas can be unbearable. In fact, one could say the weather is pretty polarizing. So I ask you, Mayor, members of the City Council, and city staff, what is more polarizing than a polar bear? Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce to you our good friend and mascot for this holiday season, Peter the polar bear. I said, Peter the polar bear. Hang on just a second. Bear with me.
You're going to text them?
Looks like we're having trouble. Let me see where he's at right now. He's typically pretty isolated this time of year. Hang on just a second. Hey, Peter. No, we're at council. No, we're all waiting for you. Okay. See you in a sec. Sorry about that. His flight got delayed, so he had to take the Polar Express. He's on his way in now. He was hanging out at an ice cream shop. I realize this is pretty embarrassing. Yeah. But maybe our cameras down at the train station caught his arrival earlier. Let's check it out and see if we have any footage. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Peter the polar bear. There he is. All right. Thank you, Peter. Thanks, Peter. Glad you could make it. What is this? What is this? Did you make it in okay? Okay, good. Oh, this is from Mayor Vargas. It's a joke from Mayor Vargas. Mayor Vargas, sorry, I have nothing to do with this. Peter has a joke for you. How does a polar bear stop his DVD player? He hits the pause button. Okay, that's enough. Hey, it looks like Peter has some gifts to start this holiday season off right, and he's going to begin by spreading some holiday cheer. Peter the polar bear will be teaming up with the IT and media department to bring holiday cheer to all of our residents here in Perris. You will be able to find him around town at various city events, including the Christmas tree lighting, the Christmas parade, breakfast with Santa, and rumor has it Peter may even be spotted at the Polar Bear Express exhibit at the Railway Museum. Peter is also going to help us with our Instagram Polar Perris Challenge. If you see Peter around town, give him a warm hug, take a picture, and post it to your Instagram using the hashtag PolarPerris. There's no limit to the number of entries you can use, but you must be following the City of Perris Instagram account, and your account must be publicly viewable. In January, we will review all the hashtags, and whatever individual photo has the most likes will receive a gift basket with one of these Perris 2019 polar bears, as well as some other goodies. So look for him around town and snap those photos. Thank you for your time today, and please have a very berry Christmas. I'll be here for just a minute if you have any questions.
Are you on every Thursday, Stephen?
Yes, sir.
You're
Same
very
time,
good.
same channel. Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. We'd like to get a quick picture with the council and Peter the polar bear, if you're willing to. Of course.
You want us holding our bears?
Yeah. Actually, you guys can sit tight right there, and we'll come down. Yeah. We'll make it easy on you. You could just hold up your bear, and we'll send Peter right over there with you. Go ahead, Chris. Yeah. We'll come up there. Just hold your bear up for us there.
I think it's
Hey, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, just one other announcement. We are also going to have the reveal for the public art mural, which will take place tomorrow evening, 6 p.m. in this building. So we invite the public to come for that. And that concludes our report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council.
okay? Should I do it again?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Item 14 is our adjournment. We will be adjourning this evening in memory of Mrs. Portillo, the late mother of our Assistant Chief of Police, Lieutenant Mike Portillo, and also in memory of Rotary Club member Vince Agnafini. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us and those at home, and we'll see you all next week or next month.